Attack! I am Dungeon Thrasher Lenny Blade, and this is the Dungeons and Thrashers show, and I am joined again by my co-host, Grognard Kirk Reed.
I'm just here to look nice.
Yes. What did you roll on your performance check?
Oh, I always roll a 20.
There you go. So, we may have a long episode for you today because today we are going to take a look at Free League Publishing's Ruins of Symbaroum system.
Okay, so I chose this because it was advertised that this was a complete world, and it looked pretty good. It had some adventures with it also. So I kind of went with 5e because I was lazy. I'm not a big fan of 5e, but rather than go with the earlier stuff, I thought, well, okay, this will be compatible with a lot of things that I have. But anyway, I was looking at it for the whole world aspect, and as it turns out, it's a little bit short on that. However, it still looks fairly interesting.
Yeah. And the setting and the world is, when you, at a first glance, it looks like a fairly standard fantasy setting. Oh, you got dwarves, elves, and so on. But once you get deeper into it and you start digging around in the dirt, this uniqueness starts to show itself. And it is a unique setting, I think. What I liked about the way it was presented is that they didn't go page after page after page of history. They just basically said, okay, a few thousand years ago there was a human kingdom called Symbaroum that was destroyed. And then a few thousand years after that, there was a war amongst the human kingdoms. One kingdom was destroyed, so its people resettled near the ruins of the old empire. And so they settled in the middle, and right between the ruins of Symbaroum, the old empire, is now a big forest, a big dark forest. And there are mountains around, and that's where they settled. There is another race of humans, which they call barbarians, that live in the forest. There are also goblins, trolls.
There's a lot of different groups of people, right,
yeah,
that live all around the center.
Yeah, there are many races that you think you know when you read the name, like dwarf and elf, but they are very different.
Yes, especially the elves.
Yes. Do you want to talk a little bit about the elves?
Well, the elves are very dark.
Yeah.
And they're very into themselves, and they're very insular, and yeah, they have taken upon themselves some missions of keeping everybody clean of all the bad things that can happen and things like that, which comes out in some of the adventures.
Yeah, and talking about bad things that can happen, Ruins of Symbaroum have borrowed the corruption idea from Adventures in Middle-earth.
Yes.
It's even called the Shadow.
Yeah.
And you gain corruption points, and you have a certain corruption threshold, and once you get corruption points up or above that threshold, bad things start happening.
Yeah, you're doomed.
Yes. And your character can even become an NPC if it goes too far. And one of the things that I found was interesting about the dwarves is that while they are short and athletic, they are not stocky, and they don't wear beards, right, any more often than humans do, let's say. And as opposed to the dwarves in Middle-earth, they are very proud of their runes and their rune magic and their writings. These dwarves have no written language. It's all about the power of the spoken word and their own connection to the earth. But they are soulless. They have no souls, so they cannot be raised, they cannot become undead, and the way they gain corruption, because they have no soul, is different. So that's on a 1-to-1 ratio with their current hit points. So if their current hit points go down to 4, and they already had 4 corruption, then they fall unconscious until either their corruption goes down or their hit points go up.
Right.
And the undead work the same way. They are also a playable race, by the way, but we'll talk more about... Or actually, we can start with the races, why not?
Sure.
Do you have anything...
No, not really. Just, it was really interesting.
Yeah.
We want to dive into the player's guide?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I felt that this was the weakest of the 3 books, believe it or not. The classes, well, the races are all the races that... so we have 2 kinds of humans, barbarians and Ambrians, and then we have goblins, ogres, and trolls, which are connected.
And they're playable.
And they're playable.
Yeah.
So what happens, this is not really a spoiler because it's in the player's guide. So when goblins live a very short time, like 20 years or so,
Right.
when they feel that they're going to die, they're kind of like dogs. They go to hide, right, to die, but they cocoon. And most of them die, but the ones that don't transform into either a troll or an ogre.
Right.
And the ogres, the goblins don't know this, that this happens. The ogres don't know it because when they get out of the cocoon, they are mind blanked, right?
Yes.
But the trolls are the only ones that know of this, which is also like an interesting way.
Right.
You know, however, I would have to ask who wants to play a goblin, but because they have a short lifespan, but it's cool that it's there for, you know.
Right, but when I read it, I wasn't interested in playing that at all.
No.
Exactly right.
I could imagine playing an ogre or a troll.
A troll, now those were, yes, those had some neat things about them that were worth playing.
Yeah. The undead are pretty cool too, but they are not mindless zombies. Their mind is intact. And it's not really clear whether they are rotting or not. I guess not, because they said that they can live for centuries, or
Right.
live
Yeah, right.
for centuries, exist as an undead for centuries.
Right.
So I suppose it's in some sort of, what do you call it, when nothing happens?
Or, yeah,
Suspended
in suspended animation.
suspended animation or something like that. Yeah. So
Right, so their arm doesn't fall off or anything like that, right?
yeah, because that would be a drag. But they are supposed to be rare, so don't make a full party of undead, even though it seems cool. Or you can. It's up to you.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'm not going to tell you what not to do. Dwarves, we've touched on dwarves and elves already. I think those are pretty much the races.
Right, yes.
Yeah. The next chapter is the most interesting one. That's the classes. And I'm telling you, options galore.
Right.
I mean, the subclasses, I counted 27 subclasses.
Right, it's a lot.
Yeah, and so you've got, the main classes are derived from 5th edition. So rogue is scoundrel, for example, and you have things like that. But there are some unique things, some unique classes here, and it's min-max heaven in one way, because you also get boons and banes.
Right.
No, they're called burdens, boons and burdens, like good thing. Yeah.
That's right.
So the boons are obviously good. The burdens have something bad that comes with it, but it's not really balanced, which is good and bad. For example, I will give you one example. There's one called bloodthirsty. You get a +2 strength. Now that's a big deal.
Yes.
And the negative is that you are bloodthirsty. So if you get wounded while you're in a combat, you will keep fighting until all the enemies are dead. You will spare no one. If you want to spare someone, you have to make a wisdom saving throw. It was an easy one at 10, I think, but still. So if you want to take prisoners, too bad.
Yeah.
If you're fighting in a big battle and the other side throw down their arms, oh, too bad.
Well, but you can look at it this way, there's always more to eat.
Yes, yeah.
Especially if you're undead.
Yeah, or if you're a troll, maybe.
Right.
So-
Exactly.
Yeah, so lots of... I felt they were a little bit unbalanced, but I think maybe that's the point, because this seems to be a very narrative system. So it's not... Though it is based on 5e, so there will be lots of combat, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it seems to be
So when I was playing with this aspect of the game, I was especially interested in a troll fighter that had this type of thing with the +2 strength and that kind of thing. Was bloodthirsty. You can it's min-max heaven.
Yeah, for sure. There is a negative to this though, and that is of course that while it seems like, oh, you have endless choice, there are certain things that you will never choose as a player because they are just too unbalanced, they're too bad.
Yes.
There is one subclass of the rogue which is called a scoundrel here. That's called the sapper, which is pretty cool.
Right.
You remember, they're like the alchemists, and they have something called a fire tube, which is basically a firearm, and they can load it with different ammunition. That's pretty cool. But at 17th level, that should be a really good feature you should get at 17th level. They get advantage on alchemy rolls. Compare that to, I think it was one of the captain classes. When they reach 17, they get advantage on all combat rolls. Right?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So yes. So which are you going to take? Yeah, right.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of that, but it's cool that it's there, and you can use them for NPCs too. So.
And nothing. You can always modify it a little bit if you'd like.
Yeah, for sure. They even, actually good that you brought that up, because in these books they talk a lot about building your own, but we will talk more about that when we go to the Game Master's Guide, because that's where that is. So the feats, the origin feats and the regular feats are, some of them are the same as in 5th edition, which is fine. And some of them have a more narrative aspect to them, which are underpowered, but cool if you want to play a very narrative game. The monetary system is not too bad. They're not called gold, silver, bronze. They're called thaler, shilling, and orteg. But they are not 10 ratio. So 1 gold is worth 10, is worth 10,
right.
and so on. It's not like in Middle Earth when, oh, that's worth 25 of those and 12 of those.
Right, exactly.
So it's basically
But it's annoying that they use such odd names.
Yeah. It's basically gold, silver, copper.
Right. Yes.
In anything but name. The spells are also 5e spells. Some of them have been slightly tweaked, and some of them are new for the system.
Right.
There is one spell called Plane Shift, which is also in 5e. The way it works here is that it can transport you from the main world into something called the Yonder World, that we will talk a little bit more about later when we get to the Game Master's Guide. The reason I said that this was my least favorite was because of the writing in the beginning. It's verbose, and it explains what a role-playing game is and what the difference between a DM and a player. And listen, this is going to be nobody's first role-playing game.
Right.
Especially the 5th edition version.
Right, exactly.
Because, the target audience are 5e players.
Right.
So, you don't... I almost felt patronized when I read it. I'm like, a GM is supposed to... I'm like, I know.
Right.
It's just a small nitpick. Do you have anything you would like to add about the player's guide?
Well, I did skip the part about what a DM was and that kind of stuff. I skipped that.
Yeah. I read it just because I wanted to feel anger. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, it's a good book. One thing you should know is that the paper quality is not what we have seen from Free League before. It's more akin to Wizards of the Coast. Like, it's a little bit lighter than the other Free League books I have seen. But it's not bad. I'm just letting you know. And it has that, so what do you call it, like a blank surface, so you can get a sheen if you put it at a certain angle, whereas their other books have more of a matte finish to it, or something like that. I'm not a book binder, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but they feel lighter. Then we have the Game Master's Guide, and this one is what I talked about when I said that they spend a lot of time talking about how to build your own adventures, worlds, adversaries, monsters, things like that. This part I like. It felt very humble. You know, there's a whole chapter in here on how to build your own setting.
Right.
And they say, oh, anyone can do it. You know, here is our thought process. Here are some tools you can make your own. You know, this is our setting, but you can make your own. Anyone can do it. There's something, I felt, you know, there was something humble about it.
Right.
You know, how some publishers, they put themselves on a pedestal and be like, oh, we're the best and no one can touch us. Whereas these guys, hey, if you want to do your own, you know, this is how we do it.
This is how you do it. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have to mention another thing is that the 3 books, the Player's and Game Master's Guide and the Bestiary all come with very nice things that you can mark your pages with.
Yes, please do that. All publishers. This is great. And there are 3 locations that are detailed in this one. It's the capital of Indaros, which is a big city, that's where the queen lives and so on. And then there is the cliffs inside the forest where the witches live and the barbarians. And then there is a settlement very close to the edge of the forest called Thistlehold. Now this will probably be your base of operations because your characters will most likely do expeditions into the forest and search for ruins and artifacts and things like that. So it's good that they chose that town, even though it's not the biggest town in all of these human kingdoms.
So this is the part of the game that I bought it for, and this is what I liked the best about it, was it had these very nice 3 locations.
Yeah, I was going to say, at first I wanted to say that this is my favorite book, but the Bestiary is so awesome, but we will talk about that later. So, what I like about all of this, even a little bit in the Player's Guide, there are these small little blurbs of adventure seeds.
Right.
So even if you only bought this, even without all the adventures that we will talk about soon, I mean, there is no shortage of ideas.
Right. Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, that's very good. They also talk about missions and expeditions, how you plan your expeditions into the forest. Even they talk about hirelings as well, which is unusual for a new system.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Because you don't see that as often. Before, in the earlier editions, it was a thing, right?
Right.
You would have,
yeah, you always had hirelings.
yeah, and torch bearers, and
Right.
you pay them
And
5 copper.
pack holders, and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
So I did like that. One thing I should mention about the forest is that the deeper you go into the forest, the more unexplored it is. So the more likely you are to find ruins and treasure and artifacts, but also the more likely things will want to kill you.
Right.
And that includes the forest itself. We're talking plants and everything. We'll get to that in the bestiary. There are some new rules as well. Many of them, I feel like they borrowed the ideas from Adventures in Middle-earth, because there is one social interaction rule, which is like when you meet people, you make certain rolls to see how the social interaction went. I feel like it's not as good as the Adventures in Middle-earth rule was. However, I feel that the corruption rule is a bit cleaner in this one. It's easier to handle. They also have travel rules and random events and things like that, just like in Adventures in Middle-earth. And yeah, they have advanced traps in this one. That's what they called it, advanced traps. So I'm guessing that would be one of your, you're a trap guy?
Yes, yes, exactly. I love it.
Yeah, there are also something.
I have that on order, by the way. The
Grimtooth.
Grimtooth's trap is coming to me next month, in the middle of next month.
Uh-oh, I sense.
Yeah,
I sense death.
you sense you're going to see it a lot.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and there is also something called ceremonies, which are basically very elaborate, long rituals that are very powerful. They are also connected to the bestiary. We will talk about that later. It's how you can summon some of these creatures. And there's a very lackluster, it's just 2 paragraphs of rules on chases. You know, how, when you chase someone either on foot or on horse, it felt unnecessary, but it's there. And then there's domains. And this is interesting because it puts the PCs in a position of slight power of an area, for example, or a settlement, I should say. So maybe a small village, a hamlet, a fortified farm, something like that. And there are rules for upkeep and maintenance, and of course, random events while you're away on adventures if something happens.
Well, and nothing's free. You got to pay. You got to pay everybody.
Yeah, that's right. I do like that.
Let me take a break here and just.
Yep.
This is a mercenary. It gives a good example of the art, which is kind of dark in itself. So there's a mercenary, and then talking about packs. Well, okay, here is more of the art. This is in an area, so the art is very well done, and it's all kind of dark like that. So I thought that I was kind of impressed with the art. I liked it because it matches the tone of a lot of the things that are going on, which is dark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree, and I kind of like that it's a little bit not murky, but it's not super clear like you would get in when you've enhanced it with a computer. Everything is super sharp.
Right.
That's not the case here.
Right.
And I think it's the same artist, at least mostly. I should have done the research, but even if it's not the same artist, surely they have talked about the tone.
Right, exactly.
And so you always have the same atmosphere as you're reading the books.
Right, exactly.
Because of the artwork. They have introduced a certain style of play called troop play, in which a player controls a group of PCs instead of their own character. This I felt was not very clear on how to do it. They also said, oh, you can switch between the 2 modes. And I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not going to switch back and forth.
No, so I'm not going to use that. And they were pretty clunky, the rules too. So, but again, it's there. It doesn't take away anything, except maybe a few columns. But there are rules on mass combat as well. They were slightly better, but I also felt that they were a little bit clunky. A good thing about it is Kirk showed you the art of the Blight Knight. This one. This is the starter adventure. And it's actually a very good, but very short adventure. Right. It's 8 pages. And I'm not going to spoil it and say what happens, but it's super easy to run, I would imagine.
Yeah, they were very clear on everything that happened. It was very well documented for the DM.
Yeah, I agree. So, very good Game Master's Guide, I would say. Yes. And also usable for even if you don't play 5e. This one not so much because it has more mechanics in this one, but this one I would recommend even if you don't play 5e.
Right.
So now we get to the nice stuff here.
The good stuff.
The good stuff, the bestiary. This one is actually called bestiary. They even spell it with an E.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah. But yeah, so there you go. And there's just so much to talk about here. I want to talk about every monster, but of course I'm going to focus on the spider-like creatures because that's my I'm a spider guy. So there's a race called the Arax, and they are all connected together with the regular spiders because there's a chapter on those too, of course.
Right.
And they're all connected to a legendary being called the Spider King. And these Arax are kind of humanoid spider thingies. So, so they do have intelligence. They can use weapons and things like that. The regular spiders they're anything from tiny to huge.
Right.
And
exactly.
anything
they run the whole gamut.
Yeah, anything in between. Anything from an animal intelligence to, I think the highest one was 14 or something.
So if spiders scare you,
yes,
you're going to be scared a lot.
Yeah. One of the I had to scratch my head because the biggest spider is like a mother spider, and she is called, or they are called, she-lobs. And I'm thinking, hold on, they can't do that.
Right,
She-lob that's Tolkien estate are going to be up your backside.
Yeah, right. There you go.
know. But I thought maybe it's not copyrightable for some reason. So I actually did research on this, and it turns out that she-lob are just two words. It's she, which is the gender of the spider, like you would say a she-elf, for example.
Yeah, right.
And then lob is an ancient, archaic English word for spider.
I didn't know that.
No,
Wow.
but
Okay,
Tolkien
learned something.
Tolkien was a linguist, so he
Right.
thought, oh, let's put them together. But he can't copyright it because it's just two words put together. You can't copyright battle axe.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Because they're just two words put together. So I think that's how they got around that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, etymology.
Well, good for you, Mr. Research.
Yeah. The spiders are really cool. What I like about almost every entry is that they have different variations of them. So for example, the spider goes without saying that they have different, but something like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about that one later. Something like the, no, I got two that didn't. Okay, here we go. The ravenous willow, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a willow. So we have the ancient one, the old crusher, and then we have the young strangler. So they give you options, so you can decide on which one to use based on your player's levels.
Right. Yeah.
So I really liked that, and
Here, show the picture of it.
oh yeah, what was it in?
No, it's this way.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good picture.
That's a great picture.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see, but there it is. Yeah, there is one more thing I want to show before I'll let you talk about these, and that was when I first read about this one. This is Sly River Hunter. It's a huge aquatic animal. Yeah, so I looked at it and I'm okay, it's a lobster. I don't know if that's oh snap!
Yeah. Right.
Look at the next picture of it.
It's not as big as a lobster. It's really big.
Yeah. That was so funny because I literally, I was,
That was my reaction too.
Yeah,
it's just a lobster. Yeah.
So if you're rafting on the river, or if you have to use a boat to go wherever you want to explore, you'll be in trouble if you find this. So I will let you.
So one of the things, the low level low-level monsters in this book are focused on a lot of things that can fly into you, can burrow into you, can get into you and cause you to become more chaotic, more dead.
So, towards the end of this book, there is a section on how to create your own monsters, how to give them feats, how to assign them, different abilities.
Right, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and again, it shows that this is not the be-all, end-all. You can create your own stuff. If you get sick of, going in on. Going to explore the Davokar forest, you can create your own using these books. So it's you can just keep going with only these books, actually, if you have the imagination and the time to do it.
Right. Well, yes.
I think in general, this system is well suited for sandbox play, to be honest, because it's all about going to explore the forest, and there are also lots of random tables on what can happen.
So it's really a good thing that stands by itself, but you can add on to it. That was my take.
Yeah.
I'm too lazy to add on, though.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. I mean, So the last thing we will talk about is, I will put a slight spoiler warning here. If you are planning to play as a player in any of these adventures, which I think it's almost everything released except the Throne of Thorns 1. So if you plan on being a player, just tune out now and direct your DM to this video instead.
Yeah. Well, we won't give away too much.
No, I won't go into detail, but just in case something may slip out. So, a good thing is that we have 3 books. Kirk has 3 books here. So, so the first one is the Adventure Compendium, which are...
This, by the way, having 3 adventure books come along with it was a big motivator for me in getting it.
Yeah, and they're good too. So this first one is 7 adventures, and they will take you to level 8, right?
And they're all interlocked, obviously.
Yeah, yes. And I felt like they even present new areas of the world throughout. What I liked a lot about this book is that some of the battle maps are gridded, which, as you will see, is not the case with the other 2, which I was slightly disappointed by, but it's not a big deal. But I'll see if I can find a battle map here somewhere with hexes.
Gonna make you a liar.
No. God.
There you go.
Okay. So I like these kind of maps because you can print them out, and they are also easier to transcribe onto a blank
battle map. Yeah, right.
Whereas, you know what I mean. So if they're gridded, it's easier to transcribe to other maps. So I do like that. And the city maps are great too. So you get even more settlements in these books. More areas are covered by these adventures in all of these 3 books. Especially this one. But we will...
So in the realm of the darkness, just a little bit of what happens in this adventure is that you just hop into this thing, and all of a sudden you're presented with of turning a person over, another human, to the elves because they want to kill him.
Yeah.
And so right away you're in this terrible moral dilemma of, well, if I turn him over, he's going to die. If I don't turn him over, he's probably going to die anyway. And I don't want to fight the elves, and I don't know what to do. So
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed with that. That was a tough one for me to get through when I was trying to think of what I would do.
Yeah, and I like that. There should be difficult choices like that. If you have players that really get into the story, and because if your group consists of murder hobos, they don't care.
Right.
But
yeah.
if you have good role players that try to play their character,
Right.
this
And
should
that's,
be.
that's me.
Yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
really like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like that as well. You also learn a lot about elves and how they are not always the nice guys in this, these adventures, and
Right.
also in this. But I think it's well written. All the maps are good. They are not too dark, most of them. As you can see, for example, a town map would look like this. It's very clear with the different districts detailed. Let's see if I can find an example of a map that's a little bit darker. Even the darker maps you can make out. That was my point. So, because the aesthetics of the game is dark.
Well, it also comes with handouts.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you get handouts. You get handouts for the players, that kind of thing. And there's lots of really decent maps here in the back.
Yeah.
But there's, like I said, there's a lot of pages of handouts. Here's another view of a town. This is the town of Ravinia. Anyway, okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No. I really like. I was just gonna say just that the art and the maps and the handouts are good. There are a few things that I felt are a little bit too dark. I don't know if I'm getting old, but it's one of the handouts where the text is black and it's like dark gray background.
Oh yeah, right. It's hard to read.
Yeah, but not too many things like that. And the writing, I felt, is better than, at least in the player's guide. I had no problems. I didn't even find any grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes, which I normally do. I'm an English teacher, by the way. But, so I didn't find any. I don't know if you...
He's an English teacher that can't add 2 + 2. Okay.
That's almost true. So, yeah, he always makes fun of me for my math skills when we play D&D 3.5. So, yeah,
Okay, so-
I mean, recommended for sure. It's a very good way to start, and you could play the 8-page adventure just to get the players a little bit accustomed to the setting and the different races, and
Right.
to make a character so they don't come in completely.
Yeah, it's to get your feet wet.
Yeah, and then just go into this one.
Go into this one, and then following that, that's 1 through 8.
Yep.
Okay. Now we have 8 through 10.
Yes. And this is just a 2-adventure book, but the adventures are really good. And the story about the elves continue in this one. There is an elf, I think he was a witch hunter, and he was called the Eternal Hunter.
Yes.
And it is...
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like that NPC. It's pretty much more of the same, except the battle maps are not gridded in this one. Which is not a big deal, but it would have helped. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. It's okay. The story is good. The artwork is amazing, like always. In this set of books, of course, I had to show the spider creature. But
Well, there's spider creatures throughout, so they're easy to find.
yeah, again, you get more maps of towns and cities. So these adventure books are almost like modules as well, because
They're like modules.
because you get new areas in each and every book of these, and
which is what I liked really a lot about the whole thing.
Yeah, so from 8th to 10th level. Did you want to spoil anything for them?
No, I'm good with it. I really liked it.
Yeah, I really like this too. So this is part 2 of the Throne of Thorns. So the first part of this book took the players up to level 10. So this is perfect because this starts at level 10 and will take you to 13th or 14th.
Yeah, that's it. 14.
And there will be a third one coming, and who knows how, where that will take you.
Hopefully it'll take you up to 20.
That would be cool.
That'd be really neat.
Yeah, but so this is more of a campaign book instead of,
right.
These two adventures in this book, they go together. These also have a red thread throughout them that you could play them, though you will miss a little bit of the stuff in here, but you could play them individually if you wanted to. With this book, this is more of a campaign book, but in the very beginning of the book, they talk about, you can always change up the factions to fit what happened, in your campaign last, and you don't have to have played the part 1 of this, so it's perfectly doable to go from this into this.
Right.
And they even give you some suggestions of factions that wasn't around in this book, that was around in the first one, that you can switch to. So they help you with that, so don't worry about that. So these are actually 3 perfect books.
Right. I like them all a lot.
Yeah, very clear, from 1st to 13th or 14th. They
really give you a lot of data as the DM, so it makes it easy to run.
Yeah. And this is only 2 adventures. So, but it plays more like a campaign, really, the way I read it. So.
Right. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And this is just, that one is awesome. I like the coloring of this one. Like the autumn colors, the fall colors.
There you go.
Yeah.
Isn't that neat? That's really something.
Yeah, I love when they start playing around with, the warm colors, with the silhouettes and things. Yeah. Artwork is awesome. You get more information as a DM. And many of these, a slight spoiler here. This is a new monster, the Thrown Beast, which is one of the last monsters. This doesn't have to be a unique monster. This is like a race of monsters. So you can put this up, you can lift it and drop it into your own campaign. Yeah, so there is, it's more of the same. They have the...
they have handouts.
Yeah, they have the handouts and...
So they have maps, puzzles, the whole works, and written letters to different people you can get information from. It's really handy. I really liked it a lot. Yeah. So I wouldn't mind running or playing. I think I would prefer playing actually in this campaign. Or in this system. Maybe we can get someone else to run it for us. Yeah, right. That'd be nice, because I'd love to play it.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind running it either, but I would really like to play it. So, what do you think? Final thoughts?
I was a little disappointed, just a little bit, that a lot of the monsters you had to adapt into from 5e, from the monster manual there, but on the whole, it's really great. I really like it a lot. It's very well put together. The art is great. The scenarios that you're going to run are really well described and easy to run. So yeah, and it did meet my my desire to have more cities and stuff that you could go to and things like that. So I really like that part of it too. So I'm going to give it a complete thumbs up. I don't know about him, but I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
I will give it a thumbs up as well, at least one, because I also like the tone you know, this is not for, you know, you need to have a certain mindset. This is a dark setting, okay?
Right, yes.
Like it's very brutal, and as a player, you need to be able to take all that. Like you can't play this with X cards. I don't mean to get political, but like this is,
Yeah.
you know, your players will have to be able to take certain aspects of the story that might be offensive to some people.
Right, yeah.
You know, there is.
Now, our group would take it, they'd take it
Oh,
all.
oh, yeah,
They'd
for sure.
eat this up. But yeah, some groups are,
Yeah.
they're not gonna like it.
There is slavery, there is possession, demonic possession, there is oppression of people, you know, there is all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, some wanton murder.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty gruesome, but that's the way we like it sometimes.
Yes, right, exactly right. That's what
So,
makes it
yeah.
exciting. So you're gonna be prepared to die too.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, thumbs up from me too.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
See you next time.